You think love is priceless? Think again. U.S. corporations have slapped a very specific price tag on it, and if you don't pay up, you don't really love. It didn't start with romance. It started with a crisis. Back in 1938, diamond sales in the U.S. were at rock bottom. The diamond giant De Beers had a problem. Americans didn't see the point in spending money on rocks. So they hired an ad agency and created not a product, but a rule. Initially, it was 1 month salary for a ring. But as greed grew in the 80s, it became a 2-month requirement. This wasn't a tradition. It was an accounting trick to clear out inventory. The result? In just 3 years, diamond sales in the U.S. jumped 55%. They turned a luxury item into a psychological necessity. Why does it work today? Studies show that Valentine's Day ads operate not through love, but through fear. The subliminal message is clear. If you don't buy a gift, you're a bad partner. This triggers anxiety. You aren't buying a gift, you're buying peace of mind and insurance against conflict. It's called forced spending. You aren't a lover, you're a hostage. But the real enemy now is your phone. Research indicates that social media usage on this day correlates directly with relationship dissatisfaction. Why? Because it has become a public competition. Your significant other opens Instagram, sees an influencer with a $1,000 handbag or a friend's story with a massive bouquet, and suddenly your gift looks pathetic. Corporations exploit this. Men feel this intensely. The pressure is not to love, but to perform. If your gift isn't Instagrammable enough to get likes in the eyes of society, you are a loser. Here is the proof that romance is dead. Statistics show that the price of roses on February 14th in the U.S. spikes by 400%. That is a tax on your desperation. The final result? Last year alone, Americans spent $25.8 billion on this day. The average guy drops about $190. Corporations took a free human emotion, wrapped it in red paper, and sold it back to us for billions. Welcome to Valentine's Day. You think Christmas is about family and traditions? Think again. It is a quarterly financial report disguised with fairy lights. And the Santa Claus, didn't come from the North Pole. He came from a marketing department in Atlanta. Before 1931, Santa didn't have a single consistent face. He was often depicted as a skinny, sometimes scary elf wearing green or brown. But Coca-Cola had a problem. Nobody was buying cold drinks in winter. They hired illustrator Haddon Sundblom, who took an existing character and standardized him into their brand icon. Now, to be clear, they didn't invent the red suit, but they hijacked the image and used their massive ad machine to make it the only real version. You aren't celebrating an ancient tradition. You are worshiping a century-old soda commercial that became a global icon. Why can't we just say no? The answer lies in your brain chemistry, and shopping malls know this perfectly well. Neuromarketing research shows that Christmas music, the color red, and specific scents in stores trigger sensory overload, which literally shuts down your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking and budgeting. You become a zombie, but you are controlled by an even deeper evolutionary mechanism: the fear of social exclusion. In our primal brain, not participating in the gift exchange ritual is equivalent to being kicked out of the tribe, which meant death in ancient times. Corporations masterfully stimulate this anxiety. You buy a pile of junk not because you are generous. You buy because your brain panics that showing up empty-handed means losing your status in the group. It's not a holiday. It's a survival instinct. The statistics reveal the true face of the season. U.S. retail chains earn up to 40% of their entire annual profit in the last month of the year. Without Christmas, they would go bankrupt. The irony, a holiday dedicated to peace on earth in the U.S. begins with Black Friday, a day where statistically, shoppers are more likely to get injured and trample each other for a cheaper TV than on any other day. The bill? Americans spend nearly $1 trillion annually on the Christmas season. But the scariest stat is this. In January, the U.S. suffers from a debt hangover. Millions of people pay interest to banks for another 6 months for gifts that are long forgotten or thrown away. We celebrate a birth, but end up in bankruptcy. Happy holidays. You think Mother's Day is a sacred occasion to thank the most precious person in your life? Ironically, the woman who created this holiday died alone and broke, fighting against it. Why? Because she realized what you are still ignoring. Corporations stole her idea and turned it into a money printing machine. In 1908, Anna Jarvis simply wanted to honor her late mother. It was meant to be a quiet, sentimental day. However, the flower and card industries saw a gold mine. They hijacked the holiday. Anna Jarvis was so furious, she called florists and merchants bandits and kidnappers. She was even arrested for protesting against the very holiday she created. She understood the truth. Business took a personal expression of grief and love and turned it into a mass obligation to buy wilting flowers. Why does this holiday generate billions? Because it leverages the most powerful tool available: guilt. In psychology, this is called unpayable debt. Marketing constantly reminds you, she sacrificed her life, sleepless nights, and health for you. Subconsciously, you feel that you can never repay her, so you try to cover that massive emotional debt with material things. Ads manipulate this. If you love mom, buy her a spa day. Don't just call. It is emotional racketeering. You buy an expensive gift not to make her happy, but to alleviate your own guilt for being a bad child. Try getting a table on the second Sunday of May. Good luck. Restaurants are bursting at the seams. Statistics show that Americans spend nearly $6 billion on special outings that day. It is the most profitable day of the year for the dining industry. But lunch is just the start. The real money drops where guilt redemption is sold. The jewelry industry rakes in a record haul, $7 billion. We buy gold because we don't know how to give time. And flowers? It's the perfect business. Another $3.2 billion is spent on a gift that is guaranteed to wilt and end up in the trash after 5 days. Let's stack it all up. The total bill. U.S. consumers spend about $35 billion on Mother's Day. The average person drops $274. That's almost $100 more than Father's Day. Corporations turn the most sacred bond between mother and child into the most expensive invoice of the year. And Anna Jarvis was right. We are all just hostages of this system. Congratulations, Mommy! You think the scariest thing about Halloween is ghosts or zombies? Wrong. The real horror is what's left the next morning. It is a holiday that corporations resurrected from the dead not to scare you, but to sell tons of single-use plastic and sugar that turn into trash after 24 hours. In the early 20th century, Halloween in the U.S. was a night for hooligans. Kids didn't ask for candy. They tipped over fences, broke windows, and caused chaos. It was a day of vandalism, not business. But after World War II, the food industry saw an opportunity. Sugar giants like Mars and Hershey launched a massive campaign. They sanitized the holiday. They didn't invent trick or treat, but they commercialized it into a perfect transaction. Give us your money and we won't smash your windows. The industry pushed out homemade treats and free alternatives, and it worked perfectly. October is now the second most profitable time for candy manufacturers. However, the biggest crime isn't happening in your stomach, but on your body. Halloween costumes are the steroid version of fast fashion. The statistics are chilling. 83% of all Halloween costume materials are made from polyester, oil-based plastic. We buy cheap, toxic clothes that we wear for an average of 4 hours at a party. The next day, they go straight to the bin. Every year, Thousands of tons of costumes are discarded in the US and UK alone. They do not decompose. Your sexy witch costume will sit in a landfill for 400 years, longer than America itself has existed. It is an ecological disaster sold as fun. It used to be enough to carve a pumpkin. Now, it's a status war. Retailers like Home Depot created a new need: massive outdoor decorations. The 12-foot skeleton for $300 became a viral hit. This is called the decoration arms race. People feel social pressure to decorate their homes no worse than their neighbors. If your house is dark, you ruin the neighborhood vibe. We spend millions on styrofoam tombstones and inflatable spiders, made in Chinese factories, shipped across the ocean, set up for a week, and then thrown away. Oh, wow. It is the peak of absurdity. The final bill? The National Retail Federation estimates that in 2024, Americans spent a record $11.6 to $12.2 billion on Halloween. Of that, $3.6 billion was just for candy. That is more than the annual budget of many African nations. We burn the planet's resources to pretend to be someone we aren't for one night, all to feed corporations that are, quite literally, vampires, sucking your money dry. What's up?